Welcome back to the channel The Coin Empire. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating and mysterious stories in the world of coin collecting, a story that has captured the imagination of collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people alike, the unbelievable tale of a 2006 P5 USA coin that is rumored to be worth an astonishing $287 million. And before you think this sounds impossible, stay with me because the truth behind rare coins, minting errors, and unique mistakes can turn ordinary pocket change into life-changing treasure, and this particular coin has sparked intense curiosity because of the combination of rare production anomalies, historical context, and the sheer possibility that something so small could carry such an extraordinary value. So let's explore how a simple 5-cent coin minted in 2006 at the Philadelphia Mint could potentially become one of the most valuable coins ever discussed, and it all begins with understanding how coins are made and where things can go wrong, because every coin starts as a blank piece of metal known as a planchet, which is then struck by dies that imprint the design, but during this process, even the smallest mistake can create a rare variety, and collectors are always searching for these unusual pieces, and in the case of the 2006 P nickel, several theories have emerged that attempt to explain its rumored value. One of the most talked about possibilities is the existence of a dramatic double die error, where the design is stamped twice in slightly different positions, creating a visible doubling effect on the lettering or the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, and while minor doubling is somewhat common, a strong and clearly visible double die can make a coin extremely valuable, especially if it is unique or nearly impossible to find. Another theory involves an off-center strike, where the coin was not properly aligned when struck, causing part of the design to be missing and leaving a blank crescent-shaped area. And if such an error is severe and still shows a complete date and mint mark, it becomes highly desirable to collectors. But what truly elevates the mystery of this coin is the speculation about a wrong planchet error, meaning the nickel design may have been struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or even another metal composition. And if a 2006 P nickel was struck on a planchet made for a different coin, especially one with a rare metal mix, it could instantly become a one-of-a-kind piece, and collectors would be willing to pay extraordinary amounts for such a rarity. There are also discussions about the possibility of a mule error, where two different coin designs are accidentally combined, such as the obverse of one coin being paired with the reverse of another, and while mule errors are extremely rare, they are among the most valuable types of mint mistakes ever discovered, adding another layer of intrigue to the legend of this coin. And then there is the concept of die cracks and cuds, which occur when the die used to strike the coin develops cracks or breaks, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface, and while small die cracks are common, a large and dramatic cut can make a coin stand out significantly, especially if it affects a major part of the design. But beyond these physical errors, condition plays a crucial role in determining value, because even a rare error coin must be in exceptional condition to reach extraordinary price levels, and coins that are graded as mint state, meaning they show no signs of circulation wear, are always more valuable than those that have been used. So if this 2006 P nickel exists with a major error and in pristine condition, its value could skyrocket. And another factor that fuels the legend is the idea of undiscovered rarity, meaning that the coin may exist in extremely limited numbers, possibly even a single known example. And in the world of numismatics, uniqueness is everything, because collectors are driven by the desire to own something that no one else has, and when a coin becomes the only one of its kind, its value is no longer limited by standard pricing guides but instead determined by what someone is willing to pay, and this is where the rumored figure of $287 million comes into play, not as a confirmed sale but as a reflection of the coin's perceived potential in a market driven by rarity, demand, and storytelling. And speaking of storytelling, the hype around such coins often grows through online discussions, collector forums, and viral videos, where people share their discoveries and speculate about hidden treasures in everyday change, and this has led to a surge in interest in checking pocket coins, searching through rolls from banks, and even revisiting old collections that may have been forgotten for years. Because the idea that a simple nickel could change your life is incredibly powerful, and it inspires people to look more closely at the coins they handle every day. And while the chances of finding such a coin are extremely slim, they are not zero, because history has shown that rare and valuable coins can and do appear in circulation from time to time, often discovered by ordinary individuals who simply took the time to look carefully. and this is what makes the hobby of coin collecting so exciting. The possibility that something extraordinary could be hiding in plain sight, and even if the 2006 P nickel worth $287 million remains more legend than confirmed reality, the underlying message is clear, that errors, mistakes, and unique characteristics can transform the most ordinary objects into treasures of unimaginable value, and it reminds us that every coin has a story, from the moment it was minted to the journey it takes through countless hands, and sometimes those stories include unexpected twists that make them truly special, so the next time you come across a nickel in your pocket, take a moment to examine it closely, look for unusual details, check the date and mint mark, and consider the possibility that it might be more than just 5 cents, because in the world of rare coins, even the smallest detail can make the biggest difference, and who knows, you might just be holding a piece of history that others have overlooked, a hidden gem waiting to be discovered. And that is the magic that keeps collectors searching, learning, and dreaming, because every coin carries the potential for something extraordinary, and the story of the 2006 P nickel is a perfect example of how curiosity, knowledge, and a little bit of luck can turn an ordinary object into an unforgettable legend worth millions in the eyes of those who understand its rarity and significance. Next, 2002 5-cent coin. Today we are stepping into another mind-blowing story from the world of rare coins, a story that turns an ordinary piece of pocket change into something so valuable that it challenges everything you think you know about money, and today's focus is the mysterious 2002 5-cent USA coin that some collectors and enthusiasts believe could be worth an astonishing $280 million because of its errors, mistakes, and extremely rare possibilities that may exist within a single tiny piece of metal. And before you dismiss this as impossible, you need to understand that the world of numismatics is filled with unbelievable discoveries where small minting anomalies have turned everyday coins into treasures worth fortunes, and the 2002 nickel minted in Denver has become part of this fascinating discussion because of a combination of rumored errors, theoretical possibilities, and the powerful role of rarity and demand in determining value. So let's take a deep journey into what could make such a coin reach such an unbelievable price, and it all begins with how coins are actually made, because every coin starts as a blank metal disc called a planchet, which is then fed into a coining press where dies strike the design onto the surface under immense pressure, and while this process is designed to be precise and consistent, it is not perfect, and even the most advanced minting systems can produce errors. And it is these errors that collectors search for because they create uniqueness in a system that is supposed to produce identical results, and in the case of the 2002 nickel, one of the first major possibilities that could drive its value to extraordinary levels is a dramatic double die error, which occurs when the die used to strike the coin has a misalignment during its creation, causing the design elements such as the lettering or the portrait of Thomas Jefferson to appear doubled, and while minor doubling can be found on many coins, a strong and clear doubled die that is easily visible to the naked eye can make a coin extremely rare and highly desirable, especially if it is one of the only known examples. And then there is the possibility of an off-center strike, where the coin is not properly aligned when struck, resulting in part of the design missing and a blank curved area appearing on the coin, and if such an error still includes the full date and mint mark, it becomes even more valuable because it tells the story of how the mistake happened while preserving key identifying details. And another highly valuable error type that could exist in a 2002 nickel is a wrong planchet error, where the nickel design is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another coin, such as a penny or even a foreign coin, and if this occurs with a significant difference in metal composition or size, it creates a coin that is instantly unique and extremely valuable because it was never meant to exist in the first place, and collectors are known to pay huge sums for such anomalies because they represent a break in the normal production process that is rarely seen. And taking this idea even further, there is the possibility of a transitional error, where a coin is struck during a period when the mint is changing materials or designs, and if a 2002 nickel was somehow struck using an experimental alloy or a leftover planchet from another series, it could become one of the rarest coins ever discovered. And these kinds of transitional errors are among the most prized in the collecting world because they capture a moment of change in minting history. And another fascinating possibility is the existence of a mule error, where two different coin designs are accidentally combined into one, such as pairing the obverse of a nickel with the reverse of another denomination. And while this sounds almost impossible, Mule errors have been discovered in the past and are considered some of the most valuable coins ever found. Because of their extreme rarity and the unlikely circumstances required to create them, and if a 2002 D nickel mule error exists, it could easily justify an astronomical valuation due to its uniqueness and the intense demand it would generate among collectors. And beyond these major error types, there are also smaller but still significant anomalies that can add to a coin's value, such as die cracks, die chips, and cuds, which occur when the die used to strike the coin develops damage over time, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface. And while many coins may have minor die cracks, a large and dramatic cud that covers a significant portion of the design can make a coin stand out and become highly collectible, especially if it is visually striking and rare. And then there is the concept of strike quality, because even a coin without major errors can become valuable if it is struck with exceptional detail and preserved in perfect condition. And coins that are graded as mint state or even higher, such as proof-like or deep cameo, can command significant premiums. And if a rare error coin is found in such pristine condition, its value can increase exponentially because it represents the best possible example of that error. And another factor that contributes to the legend of the 2002 D nickel is the idea of population rarity, meaning how many examples of a particular error or variety exist, and in some cases there may be only one known specimen, making it unique, and therefore priceless in the eyes of collectors. And this is where the rumored value of $280 million comes into play, not necessarily as a confirmed sale but as an expression of the potential value that such a unique coin could achieve in a competitive market where wealthy collectors are willing to pay extraordinary amounts to own something truly one of a kind. And this brings us to the role of auctions and private sales in determining coin values, because unlike standard items with fixed prices, rare coins are often sold through auctions where the final price is determined by bidding, and when multiple collectors compete for a rare piece, the price can escalate rapidly, sometimes reaching levels that seem unbelievable to the average person. And in some cases private collectors may negotiate directly for a coin, leading to confidential sales that are never publicly disclosed but contribute to the mystique and speculation surrounding certain pieces. And the story of the 2002 D nickel is fueled by this combination of possibility, rarity, and the human desire to discover hidden treasure, and it has inspired countless people to start examining their own coins more closely, searching for unusual details, and learning about the different types of errors that can occur during minting. And this has led to a growing community of collectors who share their findings online, discuss potential discoveries, and keep the excitement alive by constantly exploring the unknown. And while it is important to approach such claims with a critical mindset and understand that not every rumor is based on verified facts, the underlying truth remains that rare coins with significant errors can indeed reach incredible values, and history has proven this time and time again with famous examples that were once ordinary coins before their unique characteristics were recognized. And this is what makes coin collecting such a fascinating and rewarding hobby, because it combines history, science, art, and the thrill of discovery into a single pursuit. And every coin has the potential to tell a story that goes beyond its face value, and sometimes that story includes a mistake that transforms it into something extraordinary. And so as we continue to explore the legend of the 2002 D 5-cent coin, we are reminded that even in a world dominated by digital transactions and modern technology, there is still something magical about holding a small piece of metal in your hand and wondering about its journey, its origin, and the possibility that it might be worth far more than it appears. And that is why collectors continue to search, to learn, and to dream, because the next great discovery could be waiting in a pocket, a jar, or a forgotten drawer. And the story of this coin serves as a powerful reminder that value is not always obvious, and that sometimes the most extraordinary treasures are hidden in the most ordinary places. And as you go about your day and handle coins without a second thought, take a moment to look a little closer, because you never know what you might find, a small detail, a subtle error, or a unique feature that sets one coin apart from millions of others. And in that moment you become part of the story, part of the ongoing search for rare and valuable coins that continues to captivate people around the world. And whether or not the 2002 D nickel ever truly reaches the rumored value of $280 million, the excitement it generates is real, and it continues to inspire curiosity and exploration. And that is the true power of numismatics, turning everyday objects into gateways of history, mystery, and endless possibility, where every coin has a chance to be something extraordinary and every collector has a chance to uncover a hidden treasure that could change everything. Next 2003 P 5-cent coin. Today we are uncovering yet another unbelievable story from the hidden world of coin collecting where ordinary pocket change can turn into life-changing wealth, and today's spotlight is on the mysterious 2003 P 5-cent USA coin, a coin that most people would ignore without a second thought, yet under the right circumstances it has been rumored to reach a staggering value of $275 million due to its rare errors, unusual minting mistakes, and extraordinary possibilities that could exist within a single tiny piece of metal. And before you think this is impossible, you need to understand that the coin collecting world has a long history of shocking discoveries where small imperfections created during the minting process have transformed common coins into priceless artifacts, and the 2003 P nickel minted at the Philadelphia Mint has become part of this fascinating conversation because of the unique combination of potential mint errors, extreme rarity, and the powerful force of collector demand that can drive values beyond imagination. So let's take a deep and detailed journey into what could make a coin like this worth such an incredible amount, and why collectors around the world remain obsessed with finding that one rare piece that changes everything. And it all begins with understanding the minting process, because every coin starts as a blank metal disc known as a planchet, which is carefully prepared and fed into a high-pressure coining press where dies strike the design onto both sides of the coin. But despite the precision of modern minting technology, mistakes can and do happen, and these mistakes are the key to unlocking extraordinary value because they create something that was never meant to exist in the first place. And when a coin becomes unique or extremely rare, collectors are willing to pay enormous sums to own it. And in the case of the 2003 P nickel, one of the most talked about possibilities is the presence of a dramatic double die error, which occurs when the die itself is created with a misalignment, causing the design elements such as the lettering, the date, or the portrait of Thomas Jefferson to appear doubled. And while minor doubling is relatively common, a strong and clearly visible double die can be incredibly rare, especially if it is limited to only a few coins or even a single known example, and such a coin would instantly become one of the most sought after pieces in the collecting world. Another major possibility is an off-center strike, where the coin is not properly aligned during the striking process, resulting in part of the design being missing and a blank curved section appearing on the coin. And if this error is severe yet still shows the full date and mint mark, it becomes even more desirable because it clearly demonstrates the mistake while preserving the coin's identity. And collectors highly value these types of dramatic visual errors because they are easy to recognize and extremely difficult to find in perfect condition. And speaking of condition, this is another critical factor in determining value, because even the rarest error coin must be well preserved to achieve its highest potential price. And coins that are graded as mint state, meaning they show no signs of wear from circulation, are always more valuable than those that have been used. And if a rare 2003 P nickel error exists in pristine condition, its value could increase exponentially, making it a true centerpiece for any collection. And then we come to one of the most exciting and valuable types of errors, the wrong planchet error, which occurs when a coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or even a different currency. And if a 2003 P nickel were struck on a planchet made for a penny, a dime, or even a foreign coin, it would create a completely unique piece that defies normal expectations. And such coins are highly prized because they represent a breakdown in the minting process that is rarely seen. And even more intriguing is the possibility of a transitional error where a coin is struck during a period of change in metal composition or design. And if the 2003 P nickel was somehow produced using an experimental alloy or leftover materials from another coin series, it could become one of the rarest coins ever discovered, capturing a moment of transition in minting history and adding immense value due to its historical significance and rarity. And then there is the legendary mule error, where two completely different coin designs are accidentally combined into one, such as pairing the obverse of a nickel with the reverse of another denomination. And while mule errors are extremely rare, they are among the most valuable coins ever found because of the extraordinary circumstances required to create them. And if a 2003 P nickel mule error exists, it could easily justify an astronomical valuation due to its uniqueness and the intense competition it would generate among collectors. And beyond these major errors, there are also smaller yet still important anomalies such as die cracks, die chips, and cuds, which occur when the dies used to strike the coins develop damage over time, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface. And while many coins may have minor imperfections, a large and visually striking cud that affects a significant portion of the design can make a coin highly desirable, especially if it is rare and well preserved. And another fascinating aspect that contributes to the legend of the 2003 P nickel is the concept of population rarity, which refers to how many examples of a particular error or variety exist, and in some cases there may be only one known specimen, making it truly unique. And when a coin reaches that level of rarity, its value is no longer determined by standard price guides but by what collectors are willing to pay, and this is where the rumored value of $275 million comes into play, not as a confirmed sale but as a reflection of the potential value that such a one-of-a-kind coin could achieve in a market driven by passion, competition, and the desire to own something truly exclusive. And this brings us to the role of auctions and private collectors in determining coin values, because rare coins are often sold through auctions where bidding wars can drive prices to unbelievable levels, and in some cases private collectors may negotiate directly, leading to sales that are never publicly disclosed but add to the mystery and excitement surrounding certain coins. And the story of the 2003 P nickel is fueled by this combination of possibility, rarity, and the human desire to discover hidden treasure, and it has inspired countless people to start examining their own coins more closely, searching for unusual details and learning about the different types of errors that can occur during minting. And this has led to a growing community of collectors who share their discoveries, discuss potential finds, and keep the excitement alive by constantly exploring the unknown. And while it is important to approach such claims with a realistic perspective and understand that not every rumor is based on verified facts, the underlying truth remains that rare coins with significant errors can indeed reach extraordinary values, and history has shown that some of the most valuable coins in the world were once ordinary pieces of change before their unique characteristics were recognized. And this is what makes coin collecting such a fascinating and rewarding hobby, because it combines history, science, art, and the thrill of discovery into a single pursuit. And every coin has the potential to tell a story that goes far beyond its face value, and sometimes that story includes a mistake that transforms it into something extraordinary. And as we continue to explore the legend of the 2003 P 5-cent coin, we are reminded that even in a modern world dominated by digital transactions, there is still something magical about holding a coin in your hand and wondering about its journey, its origin, and the possibility that it might be worth far more than it appears. And that is why collectors continue to search, to learn, and to dream, because the next great discovery could be waiting in a pocket, a jar, or a forgotten drawer. And the story of this coin serves as a powerful reminder that value is not always obvious, and that sometimes the most extraordinary treasures are hidden in the most ordinary places. And as you go about your daily routine handling coins without a second thought, take a moment to look a little closer, examine the details, check the date and mint mark, and consider the possibility that you might be holding something rare, something unique, something that others have overlooked. Because in the world of rare coins, even the smallest detail can make the biggest difference, and that is the excitement that keeps collectors engaged, the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the endless possibilities that come with every coin you encounter. And whether or not the 2003 P nickel ever truly reaches the rumored value of $275 million, the fascination it creates is real, and it continues to inspire curiosity and exploration, reminding us that sometimes the smallest objects can hold the greatest mysteries and the greatest potential for extraordinary value. And that is the magic of coin collecting, a world where history and chance come together to create stories that capture the imagination and keep people searching for that one incredible find that could change everything forever. Next, 1997 D 5-cent coin. Today we are diving into another incredible and almost unbelievable story from the world of coin collecting, where something as small and ordinary as a 5-cent coin can become a symbol of extreme rarity, mystery, and unimaginable value. And today's focus is on the 1997 D 5-cent USA coin, a coin that millions of people have handled without ever thinking twice, yet under the right conditions and with the right combination of errors, mistakes, and unique characteristics, it has been rumored to reach a staggering value of $270 million. And while that number may sound impossible at first glance, the deeper you go into the world of numismatics, the more you realize that value is not just about metal or denomination, but about rarity, history, condition, and the story behind each individual coin. And the 1997 D nickel, minted at the Denver Mint, has become part of this fascinating narrative because of the many possibilities that could transform an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. And to truly understand how this could happen, we need to start with the minting process itself, because every coin begins as a blank disc of metal known as a planchet, which is carefully prepared and then fed into a coining press where immense pressure forces the design onto the surface using engraved dies. And although this process is designed to produce identical coins by the millions, it is not perfect, and even the smallest variation or malfunction can result in an error. And it is these errors that Collectors actively seek out because they create uniqueness in a system that is meant to produce uniformity, and one of the most well-known and highly valuable types of errors that could exist on a 1997 D nickel is a double die error, which occurs during the creation of the die itself when the design is imprinted more than once at slightly different angles, resulting in visible doubling on the coin's surface. And while minor doubling can be found on many coins, a strong and clearly defined doubled die, especially one that affects major design elements like the lettering or the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, can be extremely rare and highly sought after. And if such a double die variety exists for the 1997 D nickel in very limited numbers or even as a unique specimen, its value could skyrocket due to collector demand. And another major possibility is an off-center strike, which happens when the planchet is not properly aligned during the striking process, causing part of the design to be missing and leaving a blank curved area on the coin. And if the off-center strike is dramatic yet still retains the full date and mint mark, it becomes even more desirable because it clearly shows the error while maintaining the coin's identity, and collectors often pay significant premiums for such visually striking pieces. And then there is the fascinating concept of a wrong planchet error, where a coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or even a different currency, and if a 1997 D nickel were accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a penny, a dime, or a foreign coin, it would create a completely unique item that defies normal expectations. And such coins are incredibly rare because they require a breakdown in the minting process, and when discovered they often command very high prices due to their uniqueness and the intrigue surrounding their creation. And taking this idea even further, there is the possibility of a transitional error which occurs during periods when the mint is changing metal compositions or designs. And if a 1997 D nickel were struck using an experimental alloy or leftover material from a different production run, it could become one of the rarest coins ever discovered, capturing a moment of change in minting history and adding immense value due to both its rarity and historical significance. And another extremely rare and valuable type of error that could potentially exist is a mule error, where two completely different coin designs are accidentally combined into one, such as pairing the obverse of a nickel with the reverse of another denomination. And while this sounds almost impossible, mule errors have been documented and are considered some of the most valuable coins in existence because of the extraordinary circumstances required to create them. And if a 1997 D nickel mule error were ever discovered, it could easily justify an astronomical valuation due to its uniqueness and the intense competition it would generate among collectors. And beyond these major error types, there are also smaller but still important anomalies such as die cracks, die chips, and cuds, which occur when the dies used to strike the coins develop damage over time, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface. And while many coins may have minor imperfections, a large and dramatic cut that affects a significant portion of the design can make a coin highly collectible, especially if it is rare and visually distinctive. And another key factor that plays a crucial role in determining a coin's value is its condition, because even the rarest error coin will not reach its full potential if it is heavily worn or damaged. And coins that are preserved in mint state, meaning they show no signs of wear from circulation, are always more valuable than those that have been used. And if a rare 1997 D nickel error exists in pristine condition, its value could increase dramatically, making it a centerpiece for any serious collection. And the concept of population rarity also adds to the mystery and potential value of this coin, because in some cases there may be only one known example of a particular error or variety, and when a coin reaches that level of rarity it becomes truly unique, and its value is no longer determined by standard pricing guides but by what collectors are willing to pay. And this is where the rumored figure of $270 million comes into play, not necessarily as a confirmed sale but as an expression of the potential value that such a one-of-a-kind coin could achieve in a market driven by passion, competition, and the desire to own something truly exclusive. And the role of auctions and private collectors cannot be overlooked in this process, because rare coins are often sold through auctions where bidding wars can drive prices to extraordinary levels, and in some cases private collectors may negotiate directly, leading to confidential sales that are never publicly disclosed but contribute to the mystique and speculation surrounding certain coins. And the story of the 1997 D nickel is fueled by this combination of possibility, rarity, and the human desire to discover hidden treasure, and it has inspired countless people to start examining their own coins more closely, searching for unusual details and learning about the different types of errors that can occur during minting. And this has led to a growing community of collectors who share their findings, discuss potential discoveries, and keep The excitement alive by constantly exploring the unknown. And while it is important to approach such claims with a realistic perspective and understand that not every rumor is based on verified facts, the underlying truth remains that rare coins with significant errors can indeed reach incredible values, and history has shown that some of the most valuable coins in the world were once ordinary pieces of change before their unique characteristics were recognized. And this is what makes coin collecting such a fascinating and rewarding hobby, because it combines history, science, art, and the thrill of discovery into a single pursuit. And every coin has the potential to tell a story that goes far beyond its face value, and sometimes that story includes a mistake that transforms it into something extraordinary. And as we continue to explore the legend of the 1997 5-cent coin, we are reminded that even in a modern world dominated by digital transactions, there is still something magical about holding a coin in your hand and wondering about its journey, its origin, and the possibility that it might be worth far more than it appears. And that is why collectors continue to search, to learn, and to dream, because the next great discovery could be waiting in a pocket, a jar, or a forgotten drawer. And the story of this coin serves as a powerful reminder that value is not always obvious, and that sometimes the most extraordinary treasures are hidden in the most ordinary places. And as you go about your daily routine handling coins without a second thought, take a moment to look a little closer, examine the details, check the date and mint mark, and consider the possibility that you might be holding something rare, something unique, something that others have overlooked. Because in the world of rare coins, even the smallest detail can make the biggest difference, and that is the excitement that keeps collectors engaged, the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the endless possibilities that come with every coin you encounter. And whether or not the 1997 nickel ever truly reaches the rumored value of $270 million, the fascination it creates is real, and it continues to inspire curiosity and exploration, reminding us that sometimes the smallest objects can hold the greatest mysteries and the greatest potential for extraordinary value. And that is the magic of coin collecting, a world where history and chance come together to create stories that capture the imagination and keep people searching for that one incredible find that could change everything forever. Next, 2015 P 5-cent coin. Today we are stepping once again into the extraordinary and almost unbelievable world of rare coin collecting, where something as small as a 5-cent piece can carry a story so powerful that it captures the imagination of collectors across the globe. And today we are exploring the fascinating case of the 2015 P 5-cent USA coin, a coin that on the surface looks completely ordinary, something you would pass by in your pocket change without a second thought. Yet in the world of numismatics, where rarity, condition, and minting anomalies define value, there are claims and theories that this very coin could be worth an astonishing $266 million due to a combination of extreme mint errors, unusual production mistakes, and highly speculative rare possibilities that may exist in extremely limited or even single known examples. And while that number sounds unbelievable, the history of coin collecting teaches us that value is not always logical at first glance, because it is driven by scarcity, demand, historical significance, and the unpredictable nature of minting errors. So let's begin a deep exploration into how a simple 2015 P nickel could theoretically reach such an extraordinary valuation. And to understand this, we must start at the very beginning of the minting process, because every coin begins its life as a blank metal disc known as a planchet, which is carefully prepared and fed into high-pressure coining presses at the Philadelphia Mint, where enormous force is used to strike detailed designs onto both sides of the coin using engraved steel dies. And although this system is highly controlled and designed for consistency, it is still a mechanical process, and like any mechanical process, it is not immune to error. And in fact, it is within these rare imperfections that the entire world of valuable error coins is born. And one of the most significant theoretical possibilities associated with the 2015 P nickel is the presence of a dramatic double die error, which occurs when the master die used to create the coin's design receives a misaligned impression during its manufacturing process, resulting in design elements such as lettering, numerals, or the portrait of Thomas Jefferson appearing doubled or shadowed. And while minor doubling is relatively common and often goes unnoticed by the general public, a strong and dramatic double die that is clearly visible without magnification is extremely rare and highly desirable, especially if it appears on a modern coin like the 2015 P nickel, where production quality is generally very high, making major errors even less likely, but paradoxically more valuable when they do occur, because rarity increases when the probability of occurrence decreases. And this alone could elevate a coin from face value to thousands or even millions, depending on collector demand and condition. And moving deeper into possible minting anomalies, another highly valuable scenario involves off-center strikes where the coin is not properly aligned. within the coining press, resulting in part of the design being missing and leaving a blank crescent-shaped area on the coin, and if the strike is significantly off-center yet still retains the full date and mint mark, it becomes far more desirable because it preserves the identity of the coin while clearly displaying the minting error, and collectors often value such dramatic visual mistakes because they represent a moment where the minting process visibly failed and captured that failure permanently in metal. And then there is the extremely intriguing possibility of a wrong planchet error, which occurs when a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even another type of coin entirely, and if a 2015 P nickel were struck on a planchet intended for a penny, dime, or even a foreign coin, it would instantly become a unique numismatic anomaly because it would not conform to standard specifications in terms of weight, size, or composition, and such errors are highly prized because they represent a complete breakdown in minting protocol and are often one of a kind or extremely limited in number, and this rarity alone can dramatically increase value, especially among advanced collectors. And then we must consider transitional errors which occur during periods of change in coin production, such as adjustments in metal composition, design updates, or experimental testing phases. And if the 2015 P nickel were struck using an experimental alloy or leftover material from a previous production run, it could represent a transitional artifact capturing a moment of change within the minting process, and coins like this are highly valued because they provide insight into the evolution of coin production and may exist in extremely limited quantities, sometimes only a handful of known examples or even a single confirmed specimen. And then we come to one of the most legendary and rarest types of minting mistakes known in numismatics, the mule error, where two unrelated coin designs are mistakenly combined, such as the obverse of a nickel paired with the reverse of a different denomination or even a foreign design. And while this type of error is extremely rare and often considered nearly impossible within modern minting systems, it has occurred in documented cases, and when it does, it creates some of the most valuable coins in existence because it represents a complete mismatch of design systems that were never intended to be combined. And if a 2015 P nickel mule error were discovered, it could easily justify an extraordinary valuation due to its uniqueness and the global competition it would generate among elite collectors. And beyond these major error categories, there are also smaller but still highly significant minting anomalies, such as die cracks, die breaks, and cuds, which occur when the dies used in striking coins begin to deteriorate under extreme pressure and over time develop fractures that transfer raised lines or blobs of metal onto the coins surface. And while small die cracks are relatively common, large dramatic cuds that cover significant portions of the coin's design are far rarer and can dramatically increase collector interest, especially when they appear on modern coins where such wear on dies is less expected due to improved manufacturing standards. And another key factor that plays a critical role in determining the potential value of a coin like the 2015 P nickel is its condition or grade, because even the rarest error coin will lose significant value if it is heavily circulated or damaged, and coins that are graded in mint state condition, meaning they show no visible wear and retain full original luster, are always more desirable. And if a rare error coin exists in flawless condition, its value can increase exponentially because it represents the perfect preservation of a rare mistake. And this brings us to another important concept in numismatics known as population rarity, which refers to how many examples of a specific coin variety are known to exist, and in many cases, especially with major mint errors, there may be only one or a handful of known examples. And when a coin reaches this level of rarity, it becomes essentially irreplaceable, and its value is no longer determined by standard price guides but instead by competitive bidding among collectors and investors, which can lead to extraordinary valuations. And this is where the rumored figure of $266 million emerges, not as a verified transaction, but as a theoretical maximum potential value based on extreme rarity, hypothetical demand, and speculative collector competition. And in the modern numismatic world, auctions play a crucial role in establishing value because rare coins are often sold in highly competitive bidding environments where multiple collectors may compete aggressively for ownership, and in some cases prices can escalate far beyond initial estimates as emotional bidding and prestige ownership come into play, and private sales also contribute to the mystery of high-value coins because many transactions occur confidentially without public disclosure, which adds to speculation and fuels legends about coins with extraordinary worth. And the story of the 2015 P nickel fits perfectly into this world of speculation, possibility, and collector fascination because it represents the idea that even in a modern era of advanced minting technology, errors can still occur, and when they do, they can create objects of immense interest and value, and this idea has inspired countless collectors to carefully examine their pocket change, search through bank rolls, and revisit old collections in hopes of discovering hidden treasures that may have been overlooked. And while the probability of finding such an extreme error is very low, it is not zero, and history has shown that some of the most valuable coins ever discovered were found in ordinary circulation by individuals who simply paid attention to small details and understood what to look for. And this is what makes the world of coin collecting so captivating, because it exists at the intersection of chance, knowledge, patience, and discovery, and every coin carries the potential to be something more than it appears. And even if the 2015 P 5-cent coin worth $266 million remains largely a theoretical concept or speculative story rather than a confirmed reality, it still plays an important role in inspiring curiosity and encouraging people to look more closely at the world around them, and to appreciate that even the smallest objects can carry immense significance and hidden value. And as we continue to explore these fascinating possibilities, we are reminded that the true value of a coin is not always in its metal content, but in its rarity, its story, its uniqueness, and the human desire to find meaning and treasure in everyday life. And that is why collectors continue to search, analyze, compare, and dream, because somewhere out there may be a coin that defies expectations, breaks records, and changes everything we thought we knew about value and rarity. And the 2015 P nickel remains part of that ongoing mystery, a symbol of what might be possible when mistakes become treasures and ordinary objects become extraordinary legends waiting to be discovered. Last 1994 P 5-cent coin. Today we are diving deep into one of the most controversial and heavily exaggerated stories circulating in the modern coin collecting world, the so-called 1994 P 5-cent United States coin that some online claims and viral rumors have suggested could be worth as high as $260 million due to a combination of supposed minting errors, mistakes, and rare production anomalies. And while it is extremely important to start this journey with a clear grounding in reality, it is also equally important to explore why stories like this spread so widely, why collectors get fascinated by error coins, and what actual mint errors on a 1994 P Jefferson nickel can truly look like in real numismatic terms. So as we begin this exploration, imagine yourself holding a simple 5-cent coin minted in Philadelphia in 1994, a coin that on the surface seems completely ordinary, part of billions of Jefferson nickels produced for circulation across the United States. Yet within the world of coin collecting, even the most ordinary-looking coin can sometimes carry hidden characteristics that make it significantly more valuable than its face value. And that is where the excitement begins, because the 1994 P nickel, while not known for any confirmed multi-million-dollar specimen, does exist within a category of coins where minting processes, mechanical production, and human oversight can occasionally produce fascinating and rare anomalies that collectors actively search for and study in great detail. Now, when we talk about the claim that a 1994 P 5-cent coin could reach a valuation of $260 million, we must immediately understand that such figures are not supported by any verified auction record, numismatic certification, or established coin market analysis, and instead belong to the realm of viral internet exaggeration. But even so, the fascination with this idea allows us to explore how coin values are actually determined and what kinds of mint errors would theoretically need to exist for a coin to even approach extremely high valuations. In legitimate circumstances, coin value is typically driven by a combination of rarity, condition, demand, historical significance, and verified error authenticity. And in the case of Jefferson nickels minted in the 1990s, most coins were produced in massive quantities at both Philadelphia and Denver mints, meaning that the baseline rarity is extremely low. However, within that mass production environment, errors can still occur, such as off-center strikes where the design is not properly aligned on the coin planchet, creating a visually shifted appearance that can range from minor misalignment to dramatic partial strikes where significant portions of the design are missing. Another possible error type includes double die errors, where the coin die used in striking the coin has been impressed twice at slightly different angles, resulting in a faint or strong doubling effect on letters, numbers, or design elements. And while true dramatic double die Jefferson nickels are rare, they are not unheard of and are usually valued in the tens or hundreds of dollars depending on severity and condition. Another category includes struck-through errors, where foreign materials such as grease, dust, metal shavings, or debris enters the minting process and becomes trapped between the die and the coin blank, resulting in missing or obscured design features. These can sometimes create visually unusual coins, but again, they rarely reach extreme values because they are Relatively common in modern minting environments, we also consider clipped planchet errors, where the metal blank used to strike the coin was improperly cut, leaving a curved or straight clip on the edge of the coin. And while interesting and collectible, these errors typically produce modest premiums rather than extraordinary wealth level valuations. In the case of the 1994 P Jefferson nickel, there is no verified record of any unique mint error that would justify even $1 million valuation, let alone hundreds of millions of dollars. But the reason such claims persist online is because the world of rare coins is filled with legitimate examples of extraordinary value, such as the 1913 Liberty Head nickel or certain highly graded 1943 copper pennies, which have sold for millions at auction. And these real examples create a kind of inspiration and misunderstanding among new collectors, who may assume that any unusual coin could potentially reach similar levels of value, when in reality the numismatic market is extremely structured and heavily authenticated through grading services like PCGS and NGC, which carefully verify authenticity, rarity, and condition before assigning high market values. Now, to understand why a 1994 P nickel cannot realistically be worth $260 million, we need to examine mint production. In 1994, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions upon millions of Jefferson nickels using automated high-speed presses designed for consistency rather than uniqueness, and each die is used to strike thousands of coins before being replaced, meaning that any small imperfection tends to repeat across multiple coins rather than creating a single ultra-rare specimen. So for a coin from this era to reach extreme value, it would need to exhibit something entirely unprecedented, such as a unique minting process error that was never repeated, or a historically significant prototype or experimental strike that was mistakenly released into circulation. And even in such rare theoretical cases, values would still be constrained by collector demand and verified rarity rather than internet speculation. Additionally, coin grading plays a major role in valuation, because even a rare error coin loses significant value if it is heavily worn, scratched, or damaged, whereas a mint state example preserved in near perfect condition can dramatically increase desirability. So when evaluating claims about a 1994 P nickel worth millions or hundreds of millions, we must consider that no known mint record supports the existence of such a specimen, and no auction house has ever recorded a sale anywhere near that figure. Instead, what does exist are interesting and collectible but relatively modestly valued Jefferson nickel errors from the 1990s that may sell for anywhere from a few dollars to a few $100 depending on rarity and eye appeal. For example, a well-struck off-center 1994 P nickel with a dramatic 50% misalignment could attract collector interest but would still not exceed high thousands under normal market conditions. Similarly, a strong strike through grease error might create a visually unique coin but again would remain within accessible collector price ranges rather than entering mythic valuation territory. However, the fascination with such stories often comes from misunderstanding how rarity compounds over time in the imagination of collectors. People tend to assume that if a coin is rare and old or has an error, then its value must increase exponentially, but in reality numismatic value is determined by documented demand, verified scarcity, and historical significance rather than speculation or viral storytelling. And the 1994 P nickel simply does not meet the criteria for extreme rarity, since millions were minted and many survive in circulation or rolls even today. Another factor that often fuels exaggerated valuations is the psychological appeal of finding hidden treasure in everyday objects. The idea that a simple 5-cent coin in your pocket could secretly be worth millions creates a powerful narrative that spreads easily on social media and video platforms. But professional numismatists consistently emphasize that while error coins do exist and can be valuable, they follow predictable market ranges and require authentication to confirm legitimacy. For instance, a genuine double die reverse on a modern nickel might be worth significantly more than face value but would still require magnification verification and comparison. With known die varieties catalogued in reference books such as the Cherry Picker's Guide to Rare Die Varieties, which is widely used by collectors to identify legitimate errors rather than relying on viral claims. Now, if we imagine hypothetically what kind of scenario would be required for a 1994 P 5-cent coin to ever approach even a fraction of extremely high valuation, we would need to assume an entirely unique minting event, such as a one-of-a-kind experimental composition where the coin was struck on a wrong metal planchet possibly intended for another denomination or even another country, or a dramatic minting mishap where a prototype die intended for a different design was mistakenly used and immediately destroyed after a single strike, creating a unique survivor. Even in such extreme hypothetical situations, authentication would be extremely difficult and value would still depend on verified Provenance: historical documentation and collector competition at auction, not on internet. Speculation and certainly not on unverified claims of hundreds of millions of dollars. Additionally, we must consider the economics of the coin market itself. Even the most famous and rare United States coins have never approached valuations anywhere near $260 million. The highest confirmed coin sales in history typically range in the tens of millions at most, and those are reserved for coins with extraordinary historical importance, extreme rarity, and decades of documented collector demand. Therefore, any claim that a modern common-date nickel could exceed those levels by such an enormous margin is not consistent with established numismatic economics. Instead, what often happens is that a small legitimate error coin is discovered, perhaps worth a few dollars or a few $100s, and through repeated sharing, exaggeration, and misunderstanding, its value becomes inflated into internet myth and eventually transformed into a viral story that bears little resemblance to actual market reality. Yet despite this, it is still fascinating to study the 1994 P Jefferson nickel in detail, because it represents an era of modern minting where automation, precision, and mass production dominate, and where errors are relatively rare but still possible, and collectors continue to search through rolls-proof sets and circulation finds, hoping to discover something unusual, even if it is not life-changing in value. The excitement of coin collecting lies not only in monetary gain but also in the history, craftsmanship, and tiny imperfections that tell the story of how coins are made under high-speed industrial conditions where millions of strikes occur every day and small variations inevitably slip through quality controls. So, while the idea of a 1994 P nickel worth $260 million is not supported by reality, it serves as a powerful example of how myths form in the collecting world and why education